Imagine a city so magnificent, so full of life and treasure, that its own people chose to burn it to the ground rather than let it fall into enemy hands. This is the tragic, true story of Fustat, the lost capital of Egypt. Before Cairo, there was Fustat. For over 500 years, it was the beating heart of Egypt, a sprawling metropolis on the banks of the Nile. Its streets buzzed with merchants from as far as India and China. Its markets overflowed with silks, spices, and precious jewels. Homes soared 7 stories high, with rooftop gardens that created a sea of green against the desert sky. Travelers described it as a paradise, a city of unimaginable wealth and dazzling beauty. Its libraries were legendary, holding knowledge that drew scholars from across the world. Fustat wasn't just a city. It was the center of an empire, a beacon of culture and commerce in the medieval world. Life here was vibrant, a rich tapestry woven from different faiths and cultures living side by side. It was a city that seemed destined to last forever. But beyond the horizon, a storm was gathering. The year is 1168. The Crusades are raging, and the Kingdom of Jerusalem, led by the ambitious King Amalric, has its eyes set on the ultimate prize, Egypt. The land of the pharaohs, with its immense wealth and fertile Nile Delta, was the key to controlling the entire region. Tensions were at an all-time high. Egypt itself was in turmoil, weakened by political infighting. The ruling Fatimid Caliphate was a shadow of its former self, with real power held by the vizier, a man named Shawwar. Shawwar was a cunning political survivor, playing a dangerous game of alliances. He had previously invited both the Crusaders and their rivals, the Zengids of Syria led by the great general Shirkuh, into Egypt to secure his own power. But now, his double dealings were catching up to him. King Amalric, feeling betrayed by Shawwar, marched his Crusader army towards Egypt, determined to conquer it once and for all. As the Crusader forces advanced, they left a trail of destruction, culminating in the brutal sack of the city of Bilbais. News of the massacre spread like wildfire, striking terror into the hearts of the Egyptian people. The Crusaders were now just miles from Fustat. Panic gripped the magnificent city. The people knew what was coming. They knew the fate that awaited them if Amalric's army breached their walls. The vibrant streets fell silent, replaced by an air of dread. The jewel of the Nile was on the brink of annihilation. With the Crusader army at the gates, the vizier Shawwar faced an impossible choice. Fustat was too large to defend effectively with his available forces. Its walls were not strong enough to withstand a prolonged siege by the determined Christian army. Surrender meant the city, with its half a millennium of accumulated wealth and culture, would be plundered, its people subjected to the same fate as those in Bilbais. There was no time to organize a mass evacuation of its hundreds of thousands of inhabitants. Trapped and desperate, Shawwar made a decision so drastic, so shocking, it has echoed through history. He decided that, if he could not save Fustat, he would make sure the Crusaders could not have it. He gave the order, burn the city, burn it all. He resolved to sacrifice Egypt's greatest city to save Egypt itself. It was a choice born of pure desperation, a terrifying act of self-destruction to deny the enemy their prize. The order was given to evacuate as many citizens as possible towards the nearby, smaller walled city of Al-Qahira, what we now know as Old Cairo. But for the city of Fustat itself, there would be no salvation. The evacuation was chaotic. People grabbed what little they could carry and fled for their lives, leaving behind their homes, their fortunes, their history. Then the soldiers moved in. They didn't just set a few buildings alight, they were methodical. 20,000 pots of naphtha, a flammable oil, were strategically placed throughout the city's districts. The signal was given, and the fires were lit. What began as small flickers quickly exploded into a monstrous inferno. Flames leapt from the wooden lattice of the grand houses, devouring ancient libraries, bustling markets, and sacred mosques. The sky turned black with smoke so thick it choked out the sun. the air filled with the roar of the fire, the crash of collapsing buildings, and the screams of those who couldn't escape. For 54 days, the fire raged, an unrelenting, man-made apocalypse. The magnificent 7-story homes became towering torches. The rooftop gardens withered and burned. The scent of exotic spices in the markets was replaced by the acrid smell of smoke and ash. Fustat, the city of 1,000 wonders, was being systematically erased from existence by its own rulers. From his camp, King Amalric could only watch in horror and disbelief as the prize he so desperately wanted turned to ash before his very eyes. The smoke was a defiant message: "You'll conquer nothing but ruins." When the smoke finally cleared, Fustat was gone. Where a vibrant metropolis once stood, there was now a smouldering, blackened wasteland. The fire had done its job. King Amalric, faced with a scorched earth and the approaching army of Shirkuh from Syria, was forced to accept a tribute and retreat from Egypt. Shawar's terrifying gamble had paid off, but at a devastating cost. The city of Fustat, the administrative and commercial capital of Egypt for over 5 centuries, was never rebuilt to its former glory. Its population huddled into the smaller, fortified city of Al-Qahira, which from that day forward grew to become the new center of Egypt, the Cairo we know today. The burning of Fustat marked a pivotal turning point. It ended an era. Shortly after, the Syrian general Shirkuh and his nephew, a man named Saladin, arrived. Shawar was executed. The Fatimid Caliphate was abolished, and Saladin rose to become the Sultan of Egypt, uniting the region and launching his legendary campaign against the Crusaders. The destruction of Fustat was the catalyst for the rise of one of history's greatest figures. Today, the sprawling metropolis of modern Cairo stands on and around the ashes of its predecessor. The area once known as Fustat is now part of what we call Old Cairo, a place of ruins and archaeological sites. The memory of the Great Fire lies buried beneath the streets. A ghost of a lost capital, the story of Fustat leaves us with a haunting question. When faced with an impossible choice between destruction and subjugation, what is the right path? Was the burning of this magnificent city a necessary sacrifice to save a nation, or was it the greatest tragedy in Egypt's long and storied history? The answer, perhaps, is buried somewhere in the ashes. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more forgotten tales from history.